My sister-in-law announced a pregnancy at my wedding to steal the spotlight. Months later, I realized she was lying and exposed her publicly. So, let me fill you in on this wild story from my wedding day. I'm a 29-year-old woman who just tied the knot a few months back, and honestly, the drama from that day is still fresh in my mind, like a bad hangover that just won't go away. Picture this. It's our wedding reception, all the family and friends are there, and we just finished our first dance as a married couple. The vibe is super high, everyone's smiling, and then, bam! My sister-in-law, Dana, who's 32, decides this is the moment to drop a bombshell. She grabs the microphone and announces, in front of everyone, that she's pregnant. Like, seriously? In the middle of our celebration, she chose that exact moment to spill her news. Suddenly, all the attention shifted to her and my brother, Kyle, who's 35 instead of us. People were rushing up to congratulate them, and I'm just standing there feeling the rage bubble inside me. But what could I do? It was my wedding day, and I didn't want to create a scene, so I just kept my mouth shut. It was supposed to be our day, but she completely stole the spotlight from us. A little background on Dana. She's married to my brother, and let's just say she has always had this huge need for attention. It's like she thrives on being the center of everyone's universe, constantly trying to one-up everybody's big moments. For instance, at my engagement party, she showed up in this sparkly white dress, almost trying to pull off the whole bride look, which was so cringy, but I brushed it off then because I honestly wanted to keep the peace. Whenever the family gets together, it's like all conversations somehow end up revolving around her health issues or drama at work, or whatever friend she's currently in a feud with. If I mention that I landed a work promotion or got a new car, she's right there with some exaggerated story about how she pulled off something even more amazing or has a fancier new gadget. Every single time I try to call her out on this behavior, it's like she flips a switch and starts crying, acting all victimized. I never thought she'd go this far, though. Ahead of the wedding, she was surprisingly laid back, probably because she wasn't getting any attention, which, let's be honest, probably bothered her a lot. She wasn't even in the wedding party, but still tried to insert her opinions on everything, from the decorations to the menu choices, and I kept her at arm's length as much as I could. On the big day, everything was going so beautifully, until she interrupted the celebration with her announcement. I remember being mid-bite of cake when I suddenly heard her voice come over the DJ's microphone. She gave a quick shout-out to my husband and me, a brief moment of congratulations, and then she went right into her big news. Even my husband looked completely shocked at her audacity. I managed to keep a polite smile plastered on my face, gave her a hug, and said a half-hearted congratulations while inside I was fuming. Later that evening, after most of the guests had trickled out, I pulled Dana aside to tell her how inappropriate her timing was. But she just brushed me off with this fake apology, insisting she couldn't contain her excitement and that it was all just a coincidence that she announced it at my wedding. Kyle, of course, tried to defend her, saying they'd been trying for a baby for years and that she was just emotional. I let it go to avoid further drama. I mean, it was supposed to be my wedding night, right? I thought, let's move on and focus on starting this new chapter of married life. But then, in the weeks following my wedding, it felt like all the attention had shifted entirely to Dana and her exciting news. My parents were practically over the moon at the thought of becoming grandparents for the first time. They were already out buying baby stuff and chatting about nursery themes, and I couldn't help but notice that every single conversation I had with my mom turned into a nonstop update about Dana, her cravings, nursery ideas, everything. It was like my entire wedding was forgotten, and Dana was back in the spotlight where she clearly loves to be. I figured I'd try and be supportive, you know? I mean, Kyle and Dana had been married for 5 years without any luck in getting pregnant, and I could only imagine how hard that must have been for my brother. I'd heard whispers about them having fertility struggles, but they never seemed to share the full story. So even though her timing was infuriating, I told myself that if she was genuinely expecting after all that waiting, I'd swallow my resentment and be happy for them. However, as the months rolled by, things started to feel a bit off. By what should have been her 3rd or 4th month of pregnancy, Dana hadn't even begun to show a baby bump. Now, she's on the heavier side to begin with, which made it a little harder to tell, but still, you'd think she'd at least be experiencing some pregnancy symptoms, right? But nope. No morning sickness, no fatigue, nothing. And then I caught her drinking alcohol at a family barbecue about a month after the wedding. I thought, isn't she supposed to be pregnant? So I quietly asked Kyle about it, and he just shrugged, saying, her doctor said the occasional glass was fine. It sounded a bit strange to me, but I didn't want to stir the pot. Then things got weirder. She posted an ultrasound photo on social media that looked super generic. It honestly seemed like something she just pulled off Google. She called it her baby's first picture, but when a friend asked if she had heard the heartbeat yet, her answer was all vague, saying it was too early to hear. That made zero sense considering how far along she claimed to be. My husband even found this app that generates fake ultrasound images, and the sample picture looked just like what she posted. At this point, we were both beginning to seriously wonder whether she was even pregnant at all. Fast forward a couple more months after my wedding day, and guess what? I found out I was pregnant. We weren't trying really hard, but we weren't preventing it either, so it was a delightful surprise when we got the positive test. Now, I'm about 4 months along, and normally, my husband and I would have shared the news with our families by now. But with Dana's pregnancy fiasco still hanging over us, we've been a bit hesitant. It feels like we're living in this strange shadow of her announcement. The whole situation is just a lot to process, you know? This whole situation has been a real roller coaster for me. So, here's the deal. I've been keeping some pretty big news under wraps for a while now. And honestly, it's been super tough trying to hide it. I mean, I don't even drink at family gatherings anymore, which has definitely raised a few curious eyebrows. Plus, I've started wearing these oversized clothes just to conceal my little baby bump. My husband, bless his heart, thinks it's so ridiculous that I have to keep this wonderful news a secret. He's so ready to shout it from the rooftops, and I totally get where he's coming from. I mean, this is such an exciting time in our lives, but it feels like it's being overshadowed by my sister-in-law's crazy antics. See, if we were to announce our news now, I just know that Dana would totally blow up. She'd accuse me of trying to steal her thunder or something absurd like that. It's deja vu, honestly. She stole my moment at my wedding, and I have zero doubt that she'd try to sabotage my pregnancy announcement too. The thing is, Dana is really going all out with her own fake pregnancy. She's been posting bubbly updates on Facebook every week, like she's the star of her own little reality show, complete with plans for this huge gender reveal party. And get this, she's been hinting that she might be expecting twins. Can you believe that? It's all about soaking up the attention for her, I guess. My parents and my brother are completely convinced by her act. It's hard to watch, honestly. My brother even went so far as to paint a nursery and buy furniture with my parents' help. It makes me sick to see them investing so much time and money into something that isn't real. It's like one of the reasons I haven't come clean about my own pregnancy. I just dread the thought of escalating all this madness. I can totally see Dana doing something drastic, like faking a miscarriage to play the victim. I really don't trust her not to turn my big announcement into a chaotic scene. I've even thought about just outing her lie, maybe confronting her at her upcoming gender reveal party right in front of everyone. Part of me wants to just expose her for what she is, but then I worry that I'd come off as the bad guy if I don't handle it perfectly. What if by some tiny chance she isn't lying? Although deep down, I'm pretty sure she is. Still, I wouldn't want to ruin a genuine pregnancy announcement for someone else, even if that someone is Dana. My husband and a couple of close friends who know the scoop have been telling me that I should just go for it and announce my pregnancy, not worrying about how she'd react. They believe her facade will come crashing down soon enough. And honestly, maybe they have a point. Part of me is even tempted to wait until her supposed due date passes, when her whole lie inevitably unravels, so I can finally make my announcement without her interfering. But the reality is that's still months away, and hiding my pregnancy is getting tougher by the day. Am I really being selfish for wanting to keep my pregnancy a secret a bit longer, just to avoid getting dragged into Dana's drama? Update. So, fast forward 3 weeks, and Dana's big gender reveal party turned into an absolute circus. She decided to host it at a park, inviting all her friends and family. During the big reveal, she and my brother popped this giant balloon that released a cascade of pink and blue confetti. Yep, you guessed it. They announced they were having boy-girl twins. People were showering them with all these congratulations and even expensive gifts. I'm talking about piles of baby stuff worth a few $1,000s. I was standing there feeling sick to my stomach, knowing it was likely all built on a lie. So here's where things took a turn. I noticed Dana trying to sneak a glass of alcohol, like she was being all sly about it. Well, I couldn't just let that slide. In front of everyone, I called her out, asking how she could be drinking if she was supposedly pregnant with twins and so close to her due date. The entire place went dead silent. She tried to laugh it off, saying it was just a sip and that I was making a scene. But you know what? I didn't back down. I told her straight up that I didn't believe she was pregnant at all. You can only imagine the chaos that ensued. Initially, people were really mad at me for ruining the party. My mom was trying to shush me, and Dana started fake crying, accusing me of ruining her special day. My brother was just standing there, confused, repeatedly asking me what I was doing. I refused to budge and boldly said I was calling her a liar, that she was never pregnant. The moment those words left my mouth, all hell broke loose. My mom rushed up to me trying to calm me down, while Kyle, my brother, turned to Dana and asked if any of it was true. Under all that pressure, Dana completely crumbled. She burst into tears and sat down, hiding her face in her hands. Through her sobs, she admitted it. She confessed to everyone that she had been faking the pregnancy. Then some of her friends started yelling at her, and my parents looked absolutely shell-shocked. Kyle just stood there, completely at a loss. Dana kept babbling, trying to explain herself. She said she was terrified Kyle would leave her because of their fertility struggles. So she thought that pretending to be pregnant would buy her some time or somehow save their marriage. She even admitted to faking ultrasounds using an app and said that being overweight helped her cover up the fact that she didn't have a real bump. It was mind-blowing. People started filing out, grabbing their gifts off the table as they left in disgust. What a disaster of a party. It all ended right then and there. My parents were heartbroken and furious, They had invested so much money into those nursery items. As for my brother, I've never seen him look so defeated. He left without saying a word to Dana, and I think he just needed to distance himself from her immediately. And honestly, I can't blame him at all. After nearly everyone cleared out, Dana approached me, crying and begging me not to tell anyone else what had happened beyond those who witnessed the chaos. Can you believe this whole mess? So here's the deal. Dana, my friend, told me she was going to fix everything by pretending to have a miscarriage really soon, just so nobody else would find out what was going on. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I told her straight up that she really needed to get some help because I wasn't going to lie for her. It just felt so wrong, you know? After that, I walked out with my husband. And since then, my family has been all over the place with their emotions. Anger, sadness, you name it. My mom was definitely not happy with Dana. She felt furious because Dana was wasting what should have been a super happy moment in our lives by expecting her first grandbabies. My dad looked really sad and disappointed about everything going down. And he was also a bit frustrated with me for how I brought the whole situation to light. Sure, he gets that it needed to be addressed, but he wishes I'd handled it in a more private way. And then there's Kyle. He's been crashing at my parents' place and hasn't talked to Dana much since all this drama kicked off. The only thing he sent her was a text that she seriously needs therapy. He's heartbroken, but at the same time, he's just filled with anger. As for me, I'm still keeping my own pregnancy under wraps for now. I want to let the dust settle before I spill the beans. I had to squeeze into this dress for a cousin's wedding this week, and let me tell you, it barely covered my 5-month baby bump. A few family members shot me these knowing looks, so I'm pretty sure my secret won't last much longer. Funny enough, during the wedding, my brother Kyle quietly asked if I was pregnant. He noticed I wasn't drinking, and it was pretty clear my body has changed. I didn't want to add to his stress in the middle of his own crisis, so I just joked around about putting on a bit of extra weight. He didn't seem convinced, though. I'm planning to finally tell my family about my pregnancy in the next week or so. At least I won't have to worry about stealing Dana's spotlight. Not that there's any spotlight left to steal. It's a bummer that things went down like this, but honestly, I feel relieved that we can move on from the drama of her fake pregnancy. Now we can all focus on my real baby, without the cloud of Dana's issues hanging over us. Fast forward 6 weeks later, and oh boy, things between my brother and Dana have gone downhill. Initially, Kyle was staying with our parents and barely talking to her, but eventually he went back to their place to grab his stuff and ended up having a final showdown with her. Surprise, surprise, it turned into another shouting match. When he confronted Dana about why she lied, she tried to twist the story and accused me of pressuring her until she cracked at the party. Can you believe that? She even said she only confessed because I cornered her and insisted she was pregnant. Seriously, she was still clinging to that tale. Of course, Kyle wasn't having it. He demanded proof. Doctor's notes, appointment details, anything she could show him. And guess what? She had nothing to back it up. That's when he stumbled upon this fake ultrasound app on her phone and a bunch of obviously generated sonogram images. When he confronted her with that, she totally freaked out. I mean, she went off the rails, screaming, throwing things, and even smashed the crib in the nursery in a fit of rage. Kyle had had enough. He walked out in the middle of her tantrum and told her it was over. He's moved out for good now and even reached out to a divorce attorney. Meanwhile, Dana ran off to her parents, who live all the way across the country, and spun them a story about how we were harassing her. They actually flew in and were super mad at me and my family because they believed her lies at first. But we didn't let that stand. We sat down with them and laid out the real proof of everything that happened. The look on their faces when they realized the truth was something else. They were horrified and apologetic. Dana's mom ended up in tears, and her dad was absolutely furious with her for wasting everyone's time and trust. They've pulled any financial support they were giving her and have made it really clear that she needs to get help. Now that things are cleared up with my immediate family, I finally told my parents and Kyle that I'm pregnant. I'm about 6 months along and honestly couldn't hide it any longer. I shared my news a few weeks after the whole gender reveal disaster once things settled down a bit. Thankfully, they were over the moon excited. My mom cried happy tears, my dad was thrilled, and Kyle gave me the biggest hug and said he was genuinely happy to have a real niece or nephew coming soon. It was such a relief to share some good news for a change. But of course, Dana didn't take the news well at all. The moment she caught wind of it, thanks to one of the extended family members, I could tell she flew into a tailspin. One evening, she showed up at my house uninvited and completely unhinged. She was pounding on my door, screaming that I stole her thunder and claiming I've always been jealous of her. I just didn't want to engage in that mess, so I shouted back through the door that she needed to leave or I'd call the cops. She kept hurling insults and said something about my pregnancy being a copycat move, but I stood my ground and warned her I'd dial 911 if she didn't leave. Eventually, after a few more insults, she finally took off. After the whole incident, we decided to report it to the non-emergency police line just to have it on record. Since then, my parents and Kyle have made it clear to Dana that she needs to stay away from me. We're even considering a restraining order if she keeps this up. Honestly, the last thing I need right now is this extra stress while I'm trying to prepare for my baby. So, let me catch you all up on what's been happening lately because the drama just keeps rolling in, and it's honestly exhausting. Remember last time when I mentioned I was pregnant? Well, now I'm about 8 months along, and to say things have been a whirlwind would be an understatement. Kyle, my brother, is going through an emotional roller coaster himself. He's heartbroken and pretty furious about how things have played out with Dana, his soon-to-be ex-wife. They've got their divorce proceedings in the works, and Kyle is doing his best to be supportive of me during this crazy time. I really hope that as we push forward with the legal battles, the lies Dana has spun will come to light, and we can finally close the chapter on this nightmare. I've been thinking positive thoughts, hoping for a drama-free arrival for my little one. Wishful thinking, right? I'll check back in a couple of months to give you all another update. Fast forward 2 months, and wow, things are anything but dull. I can't believe I'm 8 months pregnant now. Time has flown by. But the chaos with Dana? Oh boy, it's still in full swing. And honestly, it seems like it's starting to catch up with her in the worst way possible. You won't believe this, but she had the audacity to have a lawyer send me a letter, claiming she was going to sue me for intentional infliction of emotional distress just because I exposed her web of lies. Seriously, it's comical. My lawyer had a good laugh about it all, and honestly, I'm not scared, just incredibly annoyed. Meanwhile, Kyle officially filed for divorce, and it's like pulling teeth to get Dana to sign the papers. She's been sending him a mix of nasty texts and sad sack voicemails begging him to reconsider. But it's not really making a difference. The divorce is going through no matter what. In fact, even her own parents have cut off her funding. They're done enabling her antics after that ridiculous fake pregnancy stunt. Now, she's scrambling to fix her shattered reputation. She's been telling family members that she only pretended to be pregnant because Kyle allegedly abused her and forced her into it. Can you believe it? Some of our distant relatives ate that nonsense up and even reached out to ask if it was true. Thankfully, we set them straight. Most of our family is horrified at how far Dana has fallen, but it's definitely created some tension. And here's where it gets even more entertaining, at least for me. I finally decided to go public with my pregnancy since, well, hiding it at 8 months is just not happening anymore. Of course, Dana couldn't just let me be. She started harassing me on social media, leaving nasty comments on every post I made about my pregnancy, calling me a copycat and fake. I blocked her immediately, but she was relentless and just made new accounts. It got to the point where I had to lock down all of my social media to private. Not going to lie, it's been so exhausting dealing with all this nonsense. But wait, there's more. The biggest drama unfolded at my baby shower last week. We didn't invite Dana, of course, but she somehow found out the details, likely through a relative who mentioned it without realizing the potential fallout. And just as we were enjoying ourselves and opening gifts, she barged in like a bat out of hell. She started screaming that she had a right to be there because we were all family and claimed we cut her out. She was yelling like a total maniac right in front of all my friends and family. Luckily, we were ready for her. A couple of my cousins and one of my husband's big friends jumped in to intercept her. We even had an off-duty cop friend at the door just in case things got wild. They managed to escort her out before she could create too much chaos. But still, it was super upsetting. And if that wasn't a big enough buzzkill, we discovered after the party that all the gifts from my shower had been stolen out of my husband's locked truck. Some jerk broke a window and made off with everything. We filed a police report, but surprise, surprise, there's no solid evidence. I have a strong feeling that Dana is behind it, especially with the timing and her overall spiteful behavior. But without proof, there's not much we can do except stew in frustration. My family and friends have been amazing, helping to replace a lot of the missing items, but I still feel terrible about it all. We're taking extra precautions now, documenting every harassing message and incident. We even installed security cameras at our house. I'm due to give birth soon, and I've warned the hospital to keep an eye out for any unexpected visitors. It's sad that we have to live like this, but with someone like Dana, who has zero boundaries, it's necessary. I'm really hoping we're finally nearing the end of her ridiculous antics. I'm trying hard to focus on the imminent arrival of my baby and not let her ruin this special experience. I promise to check in after the baby arrives, hopefully with better news, or, honestly, just no news at all would be just fine by me. Now here's update 4. Can you believe it? Just a week later, our baby girl blessed us with her presence, and I am over the moon. She's healthy and beautiful, absolutely perfect in every way. I wish I could say that was the end of the craziness, but nope. Dana decided to crash our beautiful moment too. On the very day I gave birth, she took to social media to announce that she had suffered a tragic stillbirth. Keep in mind, she was never actually pregnant. She had the audacity to claim that she lost her imaginary babies and then went on to blame me for her loss. She said that the stress caused by certain family members, clearly taking a jab at me, led to her supposed devastation. This was a complete lie, of course. As a result, I found myself flooded with hateful messages from a few people who still didn't know the truth while I was trying to recover in the hospital. Can you imagine receiving texts calling you a baby killer right after you've just given birth? Talk about a nightmare. Thankfully, my husband and mom quickly stepped in and set everyone straight, letting them know that Dana was never actually pregnant and that I hadn't harmed her in any way. Most people quickly understood the reality of the situation and apologized to me. but it was still a major bummer that tainted what should have been pure bliss. And just when I thought it couldn't get any crazier, well, it did. So, here's the deal. Out of nowhere, my sister-in-law showed up at the hospital where I was recovering after giving birth. We had totally clued in the maternity ward staff about her and the issues she had been causing, just to be safe. And boy, were we right to do that. When she tried to barge onto the floor, insisting that she absolutely had to see her niece, the security staff was already primed and ready. She made a scene in the hallway, crying and shouting that she deserved to hold my baby because she had lost hers. It was wild. Hospital security had to step in and escort her out, making it clear that she was banned from the property. I can't even tell you how grateful I was that we had given the staff a heads up. Otherwise, she might have just waltzed right into my room uninvited. On a brighter note, Kyle's divorce from Dana got finalized around the same time. He's officially a free man now. And honestly, he's doing pretty well, all things considered. He's super excited to be an uncle. After we got home from the hospital, we arranged for him to meet his niece at our place, strategically scheduling it for a time when we were certain Dana wouldn't be lurking around. He's been really careful not to post any baby pics on social media either, just to avoid stirring the pot with Dana. It's such a bummer that we even have to think about that stuff, but hey, it's the world we're living in right now. As for Dana, after all those crazy incidents, she decided to take off and stay with her elderly grandmother, the only person who still seems willing to put up with her. She's been spinning this sob story about how our family abandoned her after her pregnancy loss, and since Grandma isn't online and only hears Dana's side, she's apparently eating it all up. Honestly, at this point, we're just relieved to have her out of our lives. I have no interest in contradicting Grandma's version of events if it means Dana will have a place to stay far away from us. Right now, my focus is on my newborn, recovering from childbirth, and just trying to find some peace. We've upped the security at home big time, and made sure that all our family knows to keep Dana away from us. Fingers crossed that this is the last we see of her for a good long while. Fast forward 4 months. This is the final update to wrap up this wild saga. My baby is now 4 months old, and in the meantime, Dana's downward spiral just kept going. But finally, it feels like she's facing some real consequences. While she's been living with Grandma, she didn't waste any time trying to exploit the poor woman. We found out that somehow she managed to convince Grandma to change her will to leave almost everything to her as a sort of twisted compensation for her supposed trauma from our family. How shameless is that? Thankfully, some of Dana's aunts and uncles caught wind of this and jumped in to help out. They're working with Grandma to reverse that change and protect her assets, which is a huge relief. Her parents were notified too, and any sympathy they had left for Dana completely vanished when they heard about her manipulative behavior toward her elderly grandmother. Then we found out that Dana was actually stealing Grandma's prescription meds. Painkillers, anti-anxiety meds, you name it. We're not sure if she was abusing them or selling them, but either way, it's just terrible. Shortly after all that, she came back to our city and broke into my brother's apartment. She still had an old spare key and just let herself in when he wasn't home. Kyle came back to find her rifling through his stuff, ranting like a complete lunatic about how he ruined her life. He didn't stick around. He took off and called 911 right away. The authorities arrived, and given her erratic behavior, they placed Dana on a 72-hour psychiatric hold for evaluation. Honestly, I think this was long overdue because she clearly needs some serious help. And maybe, just maybe, this will be the wake-up call she needs. Since that incident, her family has taken some serious action. They're transferring Grandma's care to other family members now, so Dana can't isolate her or take advantage of her anymore. It's heartbreaking for her parents to have to do this to their own daughter, but they see how unwell she is and how much harm she's causing. On our end, we've brought law enforcement into the mix too. I've officially filed for a restraining order against Dana to ensure that she stays away from me, my husband, and our baby. This decision came after receiving some truly scary text messages from her right before the psychiatric hold. She was reaching out from an unknown number, which we later confirmed was hers, making ominous threats about my baby's safety, saying terrible things like how bad things can happen to babies and that I didn't deserve to be a mother. Those messages went straight to the police. So now, on top of all this drama, Dana could potentially face criminal charges for making those threats. We're pushing for that if we can. And as of now, Dana is out of that short-term psych hold, but her parents are keeping a close eye on her and are trying to get her into a long-term treatment program. I genuinely hope she gets the help she needs. I don't hate her. In fact, I actually feel sorry for her at this point. But at the same time, I have to prioritize my family's safety. If she doesn't get it together, I can't help but worry about her ending up in jail or worse. As for us, we're just trying to heal and move forward. Kyle is finalizing his divorce and has started going to therapy to deal with all the trauma he experienced while with Dana. He's such an amazing uncle and has been spending tons of time with my daughter, my husband, and I are just loving every moment of parenthood and doing our best to surround our little one with nothing but love and healthy relationships. Here's hoping for calmer days ahead. Please subscribe. 80% not subscribe.